hot, sweaty mess and outside live streaming. So just want to make sure everybody can hear me. I know I'm gonna look super gross, but not a lot I can show you footage-wise, but I can still talk to you guys all about Soul Hackers 2. So while people kind of roll in, if you have any questions in chat, feel free to let me know in a comment if I forget it, or if too many questions are coming in, feel free to like just spam them. Thank you, Jagengus. But yeah, so I have been playing Soul Hackers 2 for over 20 hours now. I have messed around with the game on PC a really tiny amount. I have played it pretty extensively, mostly on PlayStation 5, and I've even compared the PlayStation 4 version running on original launch, Pro, and through backwards compatibility on PS5. Thank you everybody for kind of showing in. So basically, obviously, no spoiler questions or anything like that, but within reason, I've played for 20 hours. I can say I have enjoyed everything I have played within 20 hours so far, but let's see if I can get all the questions. Beyond SP, difficulty on par with SMT5, P5, or TMS? It's definitely harder than Persona 5 Royal so far. Let's see if there's a way I can just always have chat on. Live chat, here we go. So yeah, it's definitely harder than P5R. I'd say on par, if not a little harder than TMS, but not as hard as SMT5. And I'm playing on normal, so at launch, there's no DLC available to any of us who are reviewing the game. So you're able to play on easy, normal, and hard. I've not checked out easy. Normal is very fair. Like, I've died on normal, and hard doesn't seem like crushingly terrible. So I'm really interested to kind of see how that all works with it. One of the nice things with the difficulty as well is, I don't know if they've really advertised this, is there's kind of a continue system. If you're playing on easy, you can always use an unlimited amount of this item that lets you continue in battle and resurrects everybody. On normal, you can only use that item if you have it. They're very rare and hard to find. On hard, you can never use those items, so you can never continue in battle, and those items just don't exist for you. Someone was asking about plot. So I gotta say, I think I talked about this in my, I would say infamous, I guess, SMT5 live preview I did. Hey, but fingers crossed this doesn't get asked to be taken down. But I was commenting on how fast the story gets started. And clearly someone listened to me when I said that and said, we're gonna like ask you to hold my beer because this one goes even faster. You're not into fights as quickly, or at least as quickly as it feels like an SMT5. Maybe it's on par, but you get thrown into this world extremely quickly. By the way, in case this question comes up, I know it's been asked a bajillion times, but you do not need to play Soul Hackers 1. Nothing I've played requires any knowledge of the world, cast, or characters. Soul Hackers 1 is not allowed. Faz, so yes, preview embargoes are up. I've seen what we're allowed and not allowed to talk about, and since footage is a no-no, basically, here is my spoken word as opposed to written, because I know most of you would probably just watch this anyway. But thank you for asking. Yeah, preview embargo went up about like 2 or 3 hours ago. I was at work and didn't have anything ready ahead of time. And I kind of thought the live AMAs work a little bit better just because, yeah, no, it's not only for websites. There's channels and stuff as well, but it's kind of just on a, yeah, it's a weird dumb thing. We've been over how Atlas and PR can separate written influencers and channels. It's very weird. But yeah, so back to the story. It's really good so far. It's interesting. Oh, Beyond SP, I would definitely say this, because yeah, I'll get back to story. I'll take a quick questions break, talk about story, but I do want to, after I talk about story, I'll get to more of the questions, because story is important without getting into spoilers, just in terms of like how fast it starts. But real quick, if you have all systems, obviously if you want to play PC, do whatever. It's not that graphically intensive, but it looks nice when you can run it at 60 FPS. This is a game that was made for 60 FPS. PS5, Xbox Series X, and everything like that, play it on that. Yes, I did check out the PC version a little bit. Not an easy platinum trophy. I know I said like I'll take a question break. Fair. It is a, you will have to complete the compendium. So until I complete the compendium, I will not really know how much of a pain in the butt or easy this will be, but it definitely seems harder than Persona 5's trophy list. So, all right, without me getting too distracted, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X lets you play it at 60, runs great in 1440p resolution at 60, looks beautiful, really, really good. PS4 and Xbox One, you're stuck at 30. It looks weird. It's not unplayable, but it was unlike Persona 5, it was designed to be played at 60. So these animations aren't going to look as nice because it was designed to look a certain way. Is it unplayable? No, it's a turn-based RPG. It is clearly a game that was not like multi-billion dollar budgets and stuff like that. It is fine to play it wherever. And for the few people who will ask, yes, this will definitely be able to run on Switch at some point. But I actually will say, it is one of the most impressive Unity games I have ever seen. Frame rate, performance, every system I've checked it out for, it is an incredibly stable game. Have not had any technical issues at all. So really, like, whatever they did with, like, for this being their first in-house Atlas Unity game, they've done a really, really great job with it. Back to story, though. So you get started instantly, and okay, so there's actually two openings. The opening cutscene, which I don't think they've released, is literally just showing you all of the main characters dying that you already knew died in the trailers. So you see how Arrow dies, you see how Milady dies. By the way, it's not Milady, it's Milady. Saizo, you see how Saizo dies, or at least that they die. You don't know any of the detail, you don't know anything about the characters. It's really just kind of like a montage. Thank you, very loud SUV or whatever the heck that was. You don't know who these people are or why they died, and you are instantly born in this like kind of ethereal computer simulation, not simulation, but you're in the internet basically, and you are brought to life through Aeon. Aeon is basically, if the god of the internet was a woman, it's Aeon. And basically what was interesting about it was you are Ringo, and Fig is born with you at the exact same time. You're like 5 minutes old when you meet them. You are there with them at their conception. They basically downloaded the internet, so they know what everything is. So they're not like fish out of water, but they're clearly not used to being synthetic life forms now. Good metaphor they use in the game, at least early on, is they are supercomputers trapped in grandfather clocks. That's a really good way to describe Ringo and Fig. So you are basically brought into this world by Aeon, and Aeon is like, listen, the world is going to end. There are two warring factions, the Phantom Society and oh man, I always forget what it is. It's a long M word, but basically there are two clans fighting. Well, not really clans, but there are two factions fighting. There's a gang war happening, and you need to save the end of the world. You need to find this person and this person. And the game just starts by bringing you out there and saying, here you go. Find these two people. Fig goes off in one direction, Ringo goes off in the other. Jack Flynn, I'm so glad you asked. How is the personality for Ringo? I'll say for everybody. I love every main character in this game. I was like literally just finishing listening to the Kinda Funny preview about this, and Barrett Courtney and Blessing Adeoye were like, yeah, I don't really like care about the characters at all. And I'm like, are we playing the same game? Like Ringo and like, seriously, all of them are really, really great so far. Like, they all feel very interesting. You get introduced to your party very quickly. You find out what soul hacking means, and you get your party. So, obviously, your party, you don't get to play as Fig, at least so far, but it is Ringo, Arrow, Milady, and Saizo all in your party, and they all feel very fleshed out. They feel like real people. They feel very, very nice. They feel nice. Like, they feel like adults. They don't feel like archetypes. They don't feel like, I'm the hot one, or I'm the goofy guy, or I'm the horny one. They all feel like they've had lives that have lived before you. It's nice to learn about their backstory, especially because it seems really light early on when you meet them, but you kind of got to realize the situation you're meeting them all, you're bringing them back to life, and it's this thing of just like, hey, there's a lot going on in the immediate plot, but the game doesn't feel like it's bam, 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 one stop to another. So the pacing for it has been good. It's definitely been pulling me along slowly. I want to know more. I'm getting interested and invested in this world. Story, though, like I said, I'm only about, I'm guessing maybe halfway to a third done with the game. I'm really liking it so far. It's got me very intrigued. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in it. It's not your typical SMT story or Persona plotline at all, which is really, really nice. Questions, I saw a couple, but please keep them coming. If I don't ask it, we have like 40 people in here, so thank you all for being here. I can't do this very long. I'm literally on my lunch break, so whatever questions you may have. I've seen things of how long do you think the game is? Atlas is set around 40 to 60. I'm playing completionist, so literally like I am doing every side mission. I'm doing every request. I'm upgrading my stuff. I'm fusing my demons and just kind of exploring the game as much as I can because we really got it tied in so long. Krillcast says, is there any connection to Soul Hackers 1? So it's clearly in the same universe as Soul Hackers 1, but like outside of the Kuzunoha clan being a thing and it being a world, but it's honestly, it feels way more tied to the Devil Summoner world than Soul Hackers 1, but that's not a bad thing. It really just feels like this is its own story in the world that Soul Hackers 1 took place in. Are there any references to the Beatles? So far, no musical reference to the Beatles, but that would be very funny. Another question I saw, but I'm forgetting on their name with it. Oh, here we go. Kyrian says, we know how the reviews will be. It's Persona 5, but it's not as good. Honestly, so I was talking about this, I think, recently with VSIPs. When Atlas Japan was saying, hey, this is a new third tier for our internal RPGs. We have, at least the Atlas developed ones. We have SMT, Persona, and I was like, I don't know if Soul Hackers can really fit as a third pillar. And what was so great about it was like the more I've played this, the more I'm like, you know what really this is? It's like they took the Tokyo Mirage Sessions team and they said, okay, what do you want to do? They obviously picked Soul Hackers. They wanted to bring that back. And this feels very different, which is nice. This feels like its own thing. It doesn't feel like SMT. It doesn't feel like Persona. It feels like its own... It just feels like its own thing. There's not social links. You're developing relationships with your characters, but it's a super, super tight-knit cast. You're not out there exploring massive worlds or platforming like SMT5. You're going from small sections around like the map one to another, going in and out of dungeons and things like that. So it feels different, but it still has those familiar things you're used to. You're used to the stylish graphics. By the way, the art and the music in this game, so good. It is all so good. If I hear anyone bad mouthing the music of this game, like things I can get. If you don't like the story, whatever, you don't like the story. If you don't like the music, we gotta talk. The music is fantastic so far. Everything I've heard is an absolute great, unique. Doesn't just sound like it's trying to be the next Persona, or it's not trying to be something super dark and edgy or whatever. Let's see here. Dr. Luma, if there are well-developed areas, then that's all that matters. Yeah, like everything about it. Like, I think another important thing to note, this is clearly a budget game. This does not even have probably half the budget of Persona, and probably not even the budget of SMT5. Let's see. Jackus says, does damage scale? So each area you're going to, the enemies are not scaling with you. So if you go back to the first area, at least where I'm at so far, they are all going to be super single low-level enemies. Obviously, that could change. I could see things bringing you back. I've been through about 4 dungeons now. I'm not really counting. One of them are kind of a series of dungeons you're returning to. That's kind of tied to each character in your party, so that's not super fair. Crafty Mike can confirm the budget was higher than 58 cents in a ball of lint. JC, you're saying the fact that its budget is the sea's a waste of money? No, I would not say any. Like honestly, because like hey, even though I got a copy thanks to Atlas West, I've sunk like over $200 into this. I'm gonna buy a copy on Xbox. I already have a PS5 version coming. Yes, I've primarily played the PlayStation 5, but I've played every console version, at least for a little bit outside of Xbox One. I haven't got to test too much with Xbox. Yes, so Alex says, are there side quests? There are 2 different kinds of side quests. You can take requests from the basically the living world, and then there are like kind of side quests you can get through demons, or while you're doing vision quests and different things like that, exploring these sort of digital dungeons and things like that. So there are many side quests and things to do. Bobby says, any idea how many hours it takes to beat? Yeah, like I said, in the 40 to 60 hour range. I'm doing everything, so I'm sure I could be way farther than I am for 20 hours. Other things I have seen in terms of questions, I'm trying to pull back. Let's see if I can scroll up and get some. Any gripes with the game? Yeah, here's a good one. I think some gripes would be, because the game doesn't feel huge, it suffers from a thing I had a little bit with Nocturne, but only because I like the voice acting way more than Nocturne. Everyone who voice acts in the game is great. I love all the actors. All the casting has been really good and really excellent so far. I like how much of the demons are voiced as well, as along with the characters. But I wish everything was voiced. The world doesn't feel so big like they couldn't have voiced everyone. That feels like a budget reason. But again, that just is me. I love the voice acting so far, that I wish there was more. So it's one of those weird ones. Jackus asks, for HP skills, are they HP, like for physical attacks, do they take HP or magic? All skills and everything you use take magic. Nothing will take HP out. HBO says, I haven't played any of the Megami Tensei games. Is this a good introduction? This is a perfect introduction. Even though it's called Soul Hackers 2, which I think is going to weird off more people than it will, like, bring in all 5 of us Soul Hackers fans. This is great. It is not too big, not too small. It brings everything at you at a very good pace. You're introduced to things at a really steady clip. The opening does not feel slow. You don't feel like you're strong. Like, you don't feel like you're basically fighting with like both your arms tied behind your back. One last little weird gripe that's, I know some people will have, I don't mind. There is one camera angle. Basically, like if I turned around, like you're really close to Ringo always. There's no way to change where she is positioned. She's constantly at like, not as close as Leon from Resident Evil 4, but like really close to her. Like you're not meant to like be looking at giant sprawling areas. I forgot the name, but it popped up. How many references to Kuzunoha have there been? Like, outside of characters sharing the name, there's not been a ton. Other weird gripe. This one, I can only pray gets patched because it is so weird. Anytime you're introduced to anything new, the game gives you a tutorial explanation with a little pop-up, and it says, hey, here's how you do this. When you close out of it, it always double checks and says, are you sure you want to close out of this? And it has never not annoyed me. It's just so funny to me that it's like I can't just turn that off. There's just some weird little thing with that. You know, that's like a super tiny nitpick. Somebody had asked, let me get back. From gameplay footage, isn't the camera the back level of Ringo? Yeah. Kyrian, score predictions? I'm weird about scores already. Like, even my opinion is always kind of ever-changing, let alone other people's. For me, so far, everything I've played, like, if this was just I played a demo of this and wanted to tell some friends, I'm recommending this. Like, at least if you enjoy these kind of RPGs, if you enjoy TMS, Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, or Atlas games, or just RPGs in general and want to play something, like, really interesting this month, this is easily one of the more interesting RPGs I've played all year. Apple says, I'm confused about the Sabbath system. Is it more of an all-out attack? Oh, that's a great thing. So, Sabbath is really important to when you're in battle. So when you're in battle, by the way, all 4 characters are all devil summoners. They can all use whatever demon they want. No big deal. So you can have everybody do whatever. You're not tied to one person is the fire person and then one person's the ice person. So with Sabbath, the way Sabbath works is every time it's actually probably more similar to the chain system in TMS, but when you're hitting a weakness, not criticals, but when you're hitting weaknesses, you will get 1 stack. Each stack is a demon from your party that at the end of your turn, all attack in at once. So let's say playing normally, someone is weak and I hit every one of their weaknesses on all 4 of my party members' turns. I have 4 stacks. then 4 of my demons come out and do a big attack all at once. There's different ways that the Sabbath is actually expanded. You can get skills that will allow certain demons in your party, if you're using them in the Sabbath, to maybe heal you or do more damage, or there are different abilities and skills you can unlock that might give your character a boost or advantage. Like one I have, if I'm playing as Ringo and she uses lightning, if that lightning is someone's weakness, instead of 1 stack, you get 2. So the game has a really good upgrade path, like upgrading your comp. So there's no buyable equipment in terms of weapons. You can buy different accessories, but for weapons, you're just upgrading your comp. Everyone has their 1 comp, and you're just adding new things: more attack, more electric damage, more proficiency, better like area of skill, different new skills you can unlock, thing like that. Let's see what else. Can you talk about how buffs work in the game? Buffs are pretty easy. This is by Xeat. Buffs are basically 3 turns. You cast a buff, it's there for 3 turns. You get sent a debuff, that's 3 turns. Let's see. Trying not to scroll. Does it get grindy in the game? No, I'd say if anything, because I'm doing everything, I've not felt like I've hit a wall where I'm grinding. I had one moment where like I lost back-to-back to 2 different bosses, and I was like, I could probably just upgrade my skills and be done, but I was like, I have a couple of requests I haven't done yet. Let's go do these requests and check it out. Jazzy Jefferson, what's going on? So yeah, like if you're the type of person who just wants to explore and check out the world, I don't see any reason you'd have to grind. This is just you have a lot of things to go back to. Like, you're constantly going back to the map. You're constantly getting new food. You're constantly getting new accessories. You're getting new demons. You're fusing demons. Something I guess important to note, there is so far no demon negotiation in battle. And I'm not sure if that's something they've shown is possible through skills. I'm sure it probably could be. But at least where I'm at so far, it's been basically you find a demon in a dungeon, you talk to them, and they say, I want Lifestone, or I want money, or I want all your MP. You just give it to them, and that's really it. There's no traditional demon negotiation you've seen so far. Outside of, I think, like 1 or 2 where like someone asks you your opinion on something, most of them have just been, hey, give me this. And then you just say yes or no. How high, is it high budget like P5? Not as high as a P5, but it doesn't feel budget. Like, it feels like a higher budget than Caligula, but like it's clearly not like their big AAA like thing. Because it's a sequel for a game 25 years ago. Like, it's not a guaranteed success, but they clearly put a lot of time. Alex Proudfoot, would you say it's worth $60? I would definitely say it's worth $60 so far. Like, everything I've played with it, I'm like, yeah, unless somehow, obviously things could change, and I'll have a review out before the game is out. But yeah, so far I wouldn't tell anyone to cancel their pre-orders. It's been glowing so far from a long time fan. Also, hi everybody for all 70 of you being here. I gotta get out of here probably within like the next less than 5 minutes. So if you have a question, let me know. If you have a super chat and I missed it, probably not, but I appreciate it because, as you can tell, I'm just sweating my butt off, and this is my lunch today. Let's see. I had a different question I wanted to answer. Level design. It was like H2O something. H2O said, how is the level design so far? It's going to feel really basic when you start. It's going to feel really, really basic, but that's mostly just to get you used to the game. There are lots of things to explore, different areas in the world. It's never felt insultingly dumb, and every dungeon I go to gets more and more expansive. So clearly that's one of those things. Like TMS was very similar. Pure, very similar to TMS in the sense of like Tokyo Mirage Sessions starts with pretty simple dungeons and not a lot of puzzles, and then just gets expanding and expanding and expanding more. Is it on par with TMS? I love TMS is literally like one of my top 3 favorite Atlas games of all time. So until I beat this, I'm not gonna like compare it there. But level design is not like brain dumb easy, but it's not gonna like super stand out to you right when you start. Let's see. OST, like I said, Josh, is fantastic. Okabe's team and all of them. I haven't heard a single bad track in the batch. It's really, really great, and I love how unique all the tracks are. Let's see. Pitage, I probably am spelling that wrong, says, is it similar to the first Soul Hackers, or is it more similar to other SMTs? I'll say gameplay-wise in the world, it feels very Soul Hackers. I can see why they did not just call this Shin Megami Tensei Soul Hackers 2, or even Devil Summoner Soul Hackers 2. Is there an opening? There is a opening movie. There's no animated like cutscene though. It is just a CG like 3-minute thing, but the song, you've heard it, is great. Multiple endings, I don't know. Replay value, somebody asked about. Replay value, they talked about a little bit in one of their last direct like presentations. Basically, replay value, we know there's New Game Plus, and we know that there are quest like side missions that are exclusive to New Game Plus, which if it's similar to TMS, which I think is a safe bet, basically, no, the opening is not CG. It's all in-game cutscenes. By the way, shout out to this game. Like, again, going back to it's graphically not going to be like the most impressive game ever, but like is one of the most impressive games I've seen on Unity for sure. Like, Atlus did a good job of making this feel like an Atlus game, even though it's made in Unity. Every time you're playing the game, you can always go back to the last, you can always go back to the first and last lines of dialogue you've ever heard, which is really, really nice. Like, even if it's like a cutscene 5 hours ago, you can go back and like hear like dialogue from that in the log. That's really interesting, because all the cutscenes are just in-game. And, yeah. Trying to think and wrap up a couple other things. Oh, DLC. Yes, somebody asked. Right now, reviewers have no access to anything, the free stuff, so no very hard DLC, none of the story stuff, none of the DLC costumes or demons. So far, it looks like there are no costumes in the game that aren't DLC, which is a bummer, because TMS did at least come with free, like, ones on the Wii U versions, so I would hope I'm wrong there, but it looks like all the costumes are only DLC. Apple says, I don't know if this counts as a spoiler, but are there more party members? No, so far in my 20 hours, it has just been Ringo. Fig has not been playable, but Fig also follows you around as an owl. Difficulty, we talked about it. It's very fair. Harder than Persona, not as hard as SMT. But yeah, your party is just that same group of 4. But again, cast is small, but it's tight. Like, it's a really tight cast of everyone that is there. Let's see, though. Everybody, thank you so much for showing. Is there a navigation in combat? No, not in the traditional way. There's a assist button, but, like, there's really no reason, like, there's no navigator telling you, hey, you should do this, or this is this kind of enemy. There's not that much kind of talking in battle. There's talking, obviously, but there's not, like, a navigator like you would see in Persona at all. Last minute questions. How's the camera? I like it, but I'm sure some people will think it's too close. There is going to be a day 1 patch addressing and adding multiple camera angles to have the camera not be in one position only with Ringo, so that's probably helpful. Boss fights. Boss fights are more cinematic than I would have thought, which is good. And there are definitely lots of mid-sized bosses, but there haven't been like tons of main bosses. Let's see. Thoughts on the gameplay? Like I said, I love the gameplay so far. It's very nice. It's kind of its own thing. Angel says, is it worth to buy the digital premium edition for $90? If you like digital and you don't care, that's definitely going to be the best way. I would still say wait, because DLC can be really, really tricky. In terms of what's good and what's bad, and most of this we know is demons and costumes and one piece of story DLC. Somebody asked me something about Persona. Which game do you prefer, Persona 5 Royal? This game, like I said, I haven't beaten this. No anime cutscenes, no 2D cutscenes or anything at all that I've seen. It is all in-engine with the models. Oh, I will say actually about 2D, because I'm sure some people will care about this, and I'll end on this unless anyone else has any like crazy last question or whatever. When you're talking to characters in the little character portrait part, so when it's not like a cutscene and it's just them talking, their lips flap. Not only the models flap in 3D, but the lips flap also in the 2D art, which I always like. I know like some people don't like when like lip flaps for it, but like it is kind of trying to sync up to it, so I at least appreciate it for just in general. Like, not only does it look different, it feels different. Like, obviously there's so many things that are similar between Atlus RPGs, and people, I'm sure, will still think of this as, oh, it's like Persona, or oh, it's just trying to be SMT, but I really think Atlus and the dev team need to need to get a shout out for making this feel like its own separate beast. I just missed their username, but they said, is there more than just dungeon crawling? Yes. So besides going out into the world, you can go shopping. There are tons of characters you can find out in the world. You can go out and drink with your buddies and learn more about them. There's a lot of good stuff. Oh, great question. How's the dub? The dub is fantastic. It is, I DM'd Christian, he was recently on the podcast. He was the voice director for this. Everybody seems like they're having a great time. Nobody seems like they phoned it in. The cast is really great. I really can't recommend the dub enough. Like, I've not even once thought of like checking out and going back to the Japanese one. All the demons sound great. All the characters sound great. It's really, really good. Is there any sort of social link? So no social link, but there are soul levels, which basically, depending on some conversation choices you do and how much you spend time with characters outside of dungeons, and they're just like an optional things that just like, you can do it, and it helps you learn about their story or more personality, or ignore it, it doesn't really matter. Soul level is just a thing that goes up of like, hey, I like you on a point scale value of 1 to over 100, stuff like that. But I've got to get out of here. Thank you all so much for watching me sweat, look gross, and everything on my lunch break. If you enjoyed this video and you watched it live and you are not subscribed to me, please consider subscribing. It really helps. I'll have a lot more Soul Hackers content coming leading up to the release. I'm going to have a technical video talking about platforms, places to play it, stuff like that. Obviously, in-depth review, going to be talking, streaming it. I think I might actually look into doing a full playthrough on PS4 just for the trophies. But thank you all for the great questions. Thank you all for being interested. If I've sold you on the game,